everyone, even District 52. Thank you for joining us today. We had our office hour scheduled, Clarice and I. We've been doing that weekly more often the last several weeks due to what's going on and trying to get people up to speed on pathways and virtual meetings and contests. And every time we have a
Either one of
meeting,
us are in it.
we learn a little bit more. And today, well, last week I invited Greg Mauro to one of my 7 o'clock in the morning meetings in Rio Grande, California. And we started talking and started giving us some tips on how best to use Zoom. And please, everyone, mute yourself. I see a lot of you not muted. So please mute yourselves. You can use the chat box. We'll answer questions as time goes on. But right now, I want to our area director out of Division F, correct?
G1.
G1, told you. G1, Greg Mauro, it's all yours.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for all attending. I do know most of you, but for those of you who I have not met, I'm Greg Mauro, Area G1 Director. I am in Clovis, California. My area is in transition like your areas are into Zoom. Currently, we have 3 of my 5 clubs that have met online, 1 other that is about to meet online, and a 5th that due to geographic and internet reliability issues is making it difficult. Before I begin, I do want to assess the comfort level of everybody and their basic knowledge base. How many of you, by a show of hands or your thumbs up or emoji, have been on a Zoom meeting before in a club, Toastmasters club? Oh, a fair amount. Okay, good. So I'm going to look over here. Oh, we got 57 people. So a fair amount of people have been exposed to it. What I'm going to go over right now is the basic Zoom features that everybody in a meeting need to use. Now, there are more specific things that a host or a co-host will use, but that's not applicable for everybody. So I'm just going to go over basic features. Very basic feature number 1, if you look at either the upper right-hand corner of your picture or the bottom left-hand corner of the menu bar that pops up when you put your cursor below the Hollywood Squares pictures, you will see a mute button. You either, when you're not, mute yourself. That is one thing for proper web meeting etiquette. Number 2, you'll want to look at that top right-hand corner. To the right of the mute button are 3 tiny dots. Does everyone see those? No. Thumbs up. Okay. If you scroll up to the top right-hand corner of your picture, you will see 2 things. First is a mute, and to the right of that, on the tippy top corner, are 3 little dots. If you click those dots, you get 5 things that drop down. 1 is mute my audio. That's the same as the mute button. The second is stop video if you want to pause yourself. The third feature is rename. So I can show you right now. I can rename myself. And there we go. Number 4 is pin video. That means if I want to, I can actually make myself bigger by pinning the video. And then I unpin it to make myself smaller.
Arrow. Oh, let's put up. Yeah, we can find the arrow. Come down. It's probably rust up there.
There we go. Then you go down to hide self view. So if you're shy and you don't want to see yourself on camera, you can actually hide self view, and that takes you out of the Hollywood Squares. And then show self view, and you pop right back on. And at any time, if you have questions, give me a hands up and I will stop. And if anybody else has more, there are people on this call that have even more expertise than I do on this and experience. So we are all learning together. Francia. Unmute yourself.
I hit myself from the view and now I cannot find how to get myself back in the view.
It should say on the top right-hand corner. So if you hide yourself from view, it should say show self view with a little eye, picture of an eye next to it. So you're going to see exit full screen to the far right, then speaker to the left of that, and to the left of speaker view is show self view. Then you put yourself back on into the squares.
Me.
Yes, it's above the gallery of photos, as Caroline is typing, above where all of us are on the screen.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions so far?
I would
Okay.
like to note, this is Kay. I would
Yes.
like to note that I am on a Mac and I do not have the same controls that you have.
Okay, I am admittedly not as familiar with the Mac OS, the way it works on the Mac OS, because I have an HP. So I'm more familiar on the Windows platform. Is there anybody who
I'm
is
on the
doing
Mac.
this?
I'm on the
Okay.
Mac.
Okay, Andy. So what's the?
It's exactly what you have described. I took myself off the screen. I put myself back on. It's exactly how you described it.
Okay, so it is. And I misspoke. It's not a drop down when you do the triple thing. You actually have to move your cursor down when you do the triple dots. So thank you for the correction. I misspoke a little bit on that. Does everyone see where the bar is below the gallery of pictures?
Yes.
To the left, the far left, going from left to right, you have a mute button. That mutes yourself. The stop video has you click on that, it stop video. If you click on the arrow to the right of it, you have several things. You can choose a camera if you have more than one camera program. You can choose video settings, which will allow you to add a virtual background. It will allow you to go from widescreen to original ratio. Does anyone see how that changed on mine? Change it to here. I can mirror my video, so I can flip myself over like this. I can touch up my appearance. And what this does is it will do a little, it kind of does digital makeup. And then for meetings, you can set that you always display participant names on video. You can turn off your video when you're joining a meeting. If say you want to go, you don't want to be seen when you join in. You can always show video preview dialogue when joining a video meeting. You can hide all participants that are not on the video.
Actually, they want us all on mute.
And they want all of you on mute. Everybody.
How do I mute?
There's a couple ways. Upper right-hand corner of your picture.
Okay. Oh, I see.
You put your cursor up. It says mute. Click mute, and then you mute. As you're going down, let's see if there's anything in the chat box. Okay. You can spotlight my video when I speak. So, for example, when I speak, if I click this, then my video is spotlighted. I can turn it off, and it does not spotlight. Turn it on, and it does.
Greg, when you changed those settings, it looked exactly the same.
Okay.
To me.
Okay, maybe it's just to, okay, it did look the same because to me, when I do it, I can see the difference. And usually when a person speaks, they're actually highlighted in yellow anyways, or there's a little yellow line at the bottom of their picture.
Hey, Greg,
Everybody with me?
who's the moderator of the conference?
That would be Clarice.
Clarice, you can mute that 805 phone number that is where we're getting all the background phone number sound from.
Just did that. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Adam is a real expert at computer stuff, by the way. This is Adam Franks, for those of you who don't know him. He is Area G4 director. I was a member of his club in Hanford a few years back. So he also has a lot of expertise in the area of computers. As you go to the right from the stop video and that arrow, you can choose virtual backgrounds. So if you have a green screen or you have a computer that is advanced enough, you can put a virtual background like Adam Franks does with the Toastmasters symbol, or Dennis Ham usually does if you've ever seen him on a call. This next one is invite. So if you want to invite people, you can click on it. You can email people using Gmail, Yahoo Mail, copy the URL, copy the invitation. So say you have a friend that you want to go on this right now, you can invite them. And anybody can invite whether or not you're the host. Clarice, as the hostess, has different features that we don't have. She gets to play the goddess of this Zoom call. The other button is the participant button. Those of you who are on the DEC District Executive Council probably are familiar with these, because when you click on participants, you can choose to raise your hand. You can vote in a chat box, yes or no, when you use participants. And that is used for voting. And it also displays how the status of everybody. So for example, my microphone is moving up and down because I am not muted, and it shows the camera icon that I am on camera. It shows that Clarice, for example, has that little cloud with the red dot because she has the goddess power. That means she's the host. And there is a muted microphone. If you have a phone icon next to you, that means that that person is participating by telephone. All right, so why when someone enters a photo behind them, they are blurry or invisible? Is it because they have an older version? What do you mean a photo behind you, Linda?
We're not getting Rick Jeffrey.
Okay.
Do you see that?
See what?
My photo's kind of blurry, and some people, when they enter it, they're either invisible or you can't see what they have up on their screen.
A lot of times it's you might have to play with your settings.
And what is a green screen? Do you have to upload a green screen to it?
There are a couple ways you can do it. I'm not as much of an expert. Adam, you have an actual green screen program on your computer, right?
I do, but what they mean by green screen is you actually having a green screen behind you, a real green screen.
Yes, you can have the old-fashioned green screen, like the meteorologists have.
His screen's not green.
No, but if you have a green screen behind you, then you're able to use a picture as a background. And because the screen is green, it won't interfere with what you have. If I were to try to do a virtual background right now, let me show you what I mean. This is going to get trippy for a bit, so bear with me. If I go to virtual background and I want to, I don't know, I'm going to upload a picture. I'm going to add an image, which I can do. I can go click and add an image, go onto my computer. It's going to look blurry. So I can go to this. I can go to my PC.
Listen, sit and finish.
Hey, Greg, the reason why my image looks a little more clear is because I have a very clear space behind me.
Yes.
The more have behind you, the harder it is for the application to fill in the
color.
color.
Yes. So if you have a lot of stuff behind you, then it's hard to fill it in.
I couldn't hear him because I heard noise in the background.
If you're not speaking, you need to please mute yourself and then you can unmute yourself when you're asking a question. What Adam was saying is there's a lot of stuff in your background, and that makes it harder for the program to project that image as a background. Does that make sense?
No.
It's the same reason. How many of you have ever seen a weather report on TV? Okay. Everyone, you probably know that the weather map is not really on the screen, right? They're actually pointing at a green screen. The screen that they're pointing at is a green screen. They're looking at the monitor to see where their hand would end up in the background. So when they're saying the weather in LA is sunny today, they're not pointing at a map with LA. The wall is a green screen, but they're looking at the screen to see how it's going to look when they superimpose that background, if that makes sense. It's not a feature that's necessary. And in fact, you've actually helped me to segue into another topic. When you do a virtual meeting, the optimal environment for having a background is something that either Adam Franks has, which is a green screen with the Toastmasters picture on it, which is awesome. That's really cool to have. If you're in a regular meeting, in a contest, you would want something as least visual distracting as possible. So for example, what Lynn has as a blank wall would be less visual distracting to somebody else during a meeting. My background, for example, many of you know, I teach ESL for a company called VIP Kid. So this is my background that I have to have for my job. It's mandated. But you want to make sure that what you use in your background is not cluttered, because that's going to distract from you as the speaker. And we're all learning. So this is all a work in progress. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Greg, if I can say something.
Yeah, of course.
I look a lot in green screen and I've ordered one. I want to do it. The green is actually the color farthest away from your skin. So if you use that virtual background and the background is close to the color of your skin, then it will not work for you.
No, it won't. It has to have contrast.
It needs to be contrast from your skin and your hair. So anything will blend in with the background, then it works well. So therefore the green is the furthest away from most people, the skin color, and after that comes blue.
Thank you. And I don't use and you don't need to use a virtual green screen.
You know,
I do not, or background.
Sorry, excuse me. I don't
Yes.
see anything on my computer to get a different screen.
If you look at you see the arrow next to the stop video?
Yes.
If you click that, you will see on the bottom of that menu, choose virtual background.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, got it.
And then you can put a picture in. I've tried it because I don't have a green screen in the background. When I do it, it looks all weird. It's psychedelic. And you don't need one. You don't need one. Is it nice to have it? Yes, it's nice to have it, but you don't need it. And Adam doesn't have the actual green screen because he has that.
Well, I'm going to be competing at the speech contest on April 18th, and so I want to have like just a plain background while I'm doing my speech.
Yeah.
That's exactly that's exactly what you would need to gun for, is something plain, simple, and not distracting.
And not use a virtual background on your with the contest, because sometimes with the lightning, your glasses can have that green in it, and then you get all kinds of flickering and distracting. So for any contest, it's not recommended to use a virtual background.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
And there's a lot, and actually, I have been looking to some of the clubs in Asia for more onboarding with Zoom, because I've used it a little. I mean, I've used it some, but I am not an expert on it. I have had moderate use, but there are clubs in Asia that use it regularly. And so I have been getting information from them on some best practices for
virtual background's great, but we can finish up that later with the Q&A portion.
Exactly.
There's a lot more to go over.
Oh yeah, there is.
That's just your background. Keep it playing.
I know that. So the next part is if you want to share a screen. The great thing about sharing a screen is if you are at a meeting, like today, I was at Central Valley Toastmasters. I did a 20 to 30 minute seminar presentation as part of the professional speaker series from Legacy. I was able to show my Google Slides presentation to everybody. Let me show you, if I may, for a second, how this works. If I'm going to take this button, I'm going to take the button on the bottom that says share screen. When you push share screen, it's going to show a whiteboard. If I do the whiteboard feature, I can do this, and I can actually write on here, take a pen and put this. Does everyone see that?
Yeah.
Hi.
Right.
This is a great feature because I'm going to use this with my students starting in 2 weeks when we do distance learning and we use Zoom. Then I push stop share, I stop share. What most of us are going to use it for is for our presentations. I can click on whatever I want to share. In this case, I'm going to share my window for Zoom. I share it, now you see it. There's a button at towards the top that says pause share, so I can pause it and I can annotate it, which means I can write on it. So I can draw, write on it. I can change colors. I can spotlight stuff. Like I can put notes on there. I can use an eraser. So I can do anything that you can do with drawing features on like a Microsoft document. And then there's the red button. But in this case, you do want to push the red button, unlike those movies where they say don't, because you push it and you can end sharing video. And there you go. You can even enable a remote control to, if you sync it to your computer, you can control your presentations by remote and not even have to touch the phone. Touch the computer. Any questions on that? Okay. The next thing is a chat. Does everyone see the chat box?
Oh, crap.
I don't know.
Oh, and Carolyn just raised her hand. Carolyn, did you just raise your hand?
Yeah.
No, but I don't see the chat box.
Okay. If you go down below the gallery of pictures and you're going to see that bar, the share screen icon is dead center.
Yeah.
To the right of that is a little cloud, speech bubble, with the word chat below it.
Okay.
Click on chat. The reason that we use this the most in the two clubs that in the club meetings I have been to is for submitting your votes to the vote counter or ballot counter. What we do in TLC and in Central Valley Toastmasters, both of the clubs I'm members of, is we submit those private message to the ballot counter. The way that works can everyone please open up their chat box?
Oh, I want a fucking pain in the ass, this thing.
Mute yourself, please. You're being recorded.
805-644-1224. Mute yourself.
Or Clarice, mute him, please. Okay. Now,
Would you repeat what you just asked us to do?
open your chat box, please.
Thank you.
Okay. I believe in teaching by doing. I'm an elementary school teacher. Many of you know I teach third grade, so I believe in teaching by doing. As you open up your chat box, you're going to see a 2, and you're going to see everyone. If it's by default on everyone, except if somebody sends you a message. If somebody sends you a message, it will default to the last person who private messaged you. This works just like Facebook Messenger. If it's to everyone, I can say hi and you all get it. On that, does everyone see that the 2 and then the everyone with an arrow next to it?
No.
Thumbs up if you see it, thumbs down if you don't. Okay, thumbs up, thumbs down. Midori, okay. If you see the 2, go to the right of the 2 and it says everyone. Then you click and you see the names of every single person on this call. So if you want to message somebody privately, which usually it's not recommended, it's not a best practice during a meeting because that's equivalent to whispering during an in-person meeting. The best use of this is, as I said a couple minutes ago, is to message privately the ballot counter. Then you would submit those by private message. So I could send it to anybody that I want. Any questions on that? Okay. If you look to the right, you can even save the chat. And you can, and Kay also mentioned, I forgot to mention that as well. Thank you, Kay, for bringing that up. Kay also mentioned that her club uses private message for all people to give feedback to the speaker, which is equivalent. Now, I will say this. Even though your and I learned this actually from my principal because we are doing Zoom. Even if your messages, you private message somebody, if the meeting gets recorded, once the meeting ends, all private messages can be accessed by the host. And that's just to keep something in mind. So we want to make sure that everything we say on chat, even if it's private, they may not see it now, everybody else, but the host has access to the entire chat transcript, public and private. And when I found that out from my from my principal, I went, okay, thank you for letting me know. I just learned something new today. Because how many of you have kids? How many of you have kids in school? Elementary, junior high, high school, middle school. How many of them are using Zoom for a meeting with their teachers? Okay. They're going to be using the same technology you're using, that we're using. So this is important stuff, not just for today, not just for Toastmasters, but because education is changing. And for the rest of the school year, we're going to be, your child will be meeting one way or another virtually with their teacher and likely utilizing the Zoom platform. All right. The record button allows anybody to record to a meeting. However, if I want to record this meeting, then I have to ask the host permission to record it. So for example, if I want to record this for myself, for my own Zoom, to my own Zoom account, I have to ask Clarice for her to grant me permission. Otherwise, Clarice, as the hostess, is the only person permitted to record the meeting. It's also a good idea to record meetings if you have a training. So you have a training you want to provide. Not everyone makes it. You record it. You can post it on Facebook, post the link on an email, text it, whatever you like. And then there's the reactions. There are 2 reactions. The clap, which replaces the loud clap, as well as a thumbs up, which is utilized to show that, yes, you understand, you get it. And let's see if there's anything else from the chat box. Any other questions from the chat box I don't see any questions.
Hello.
Yes.
Sorry, this is Jo Lynn with Padre Sarah. And
yes.
I do have a question. I just want to confirm something, please.
Yes, go ahead.
We are being hosted on a paid Zoom platform. Is that correct?
Yes, you are being hosted on a paid Zoom platform by the district.
Okay, because without paying, many of the features, well, I shouldn't say many, but particularly the ones related to participants are not included.
Okay.
So the ability to raise your hand or vote, to give feedback to the speaker to speed up or go more slowly, those are not available in a free Zoom connection.
Okay. Well, I've had a free Zoom connection till recently, and I was able to use the same 2 emojis as well as private chat with somebody.
You can definitely do the chat. You can definitely private chat. I know that Zoom has made some modifications. They used to allow people to participate by telephone only on a free Zoom account, and they no longer are allowing that.
They are changing that due to the high demand.
Exactly.
Now, there are 2 accounts that each division has been given. And so your division director will be in contact with your area directors and your clubs as far as the use of those accounts. Those 2 accounts are paid for by District 33 and do not require any reimbursement from either the club or the members.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome. Beyond that, I've used both. If you were to utilize a free one, you would establish a 40-minute meeting, 45-minute meeting, and then you would have to set up another 45-minute meeting, which some clubs do. Is it easier to have the professional one? Yes, especially when you're doing contests and you want to do breakout rooms and waiting rooms, which is something that most people won't have to do on a regular basis. And free accounts have a 40-minute time for COVID. That is true. I know that especially for educators, they do. Educators get the discount, have had it waived.
Greg, there was a question in the chat box regarding the, if you record the session, is the chat available?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Chat is available. When you record a session, you also can save chat. And that's an easy feature. You just click, if you go to the chat box, click on those 3 dots, and it says save chat. And it will save all of the chat.
Greg, with the recording, that is a setting. Who set up the meeting can set it on forehand if everyone who can record. You can also forehand set that the participant cannot record it.
And that's what I was saying. Clarice has to set it.
Yeah, before the meeting. Yeah, before the meeting starts.
Prior to the meeting, yes.
Yeah.
It is I will say this. It is preferable that you use Zoom on a computer. It is a lot easier to use Zoom on a computer than it is on a phone, especially for meeting. Now, if you're doing Zoom with your friends, you're chit-chatting with your friends, that's one thing. But in a more professional environment like Toastmasters, it is optimal that you would use a device such as your desktop or laptop. And most people, you can get away with a free account. Individually, and I would encourage, if you do not have a Zoom account, get a Zoom account. Just get the free one. You can play with the features, start doing it. That's how you learn, is you learn by doing. Okay, anything, let's see here. It says the host is usually in charge of recording. Can you as a participant use the record button only if the host has activated that before the meeting and allowed by the host? But that has to be worked out with the host before the meeting begins. But of course, you can always get a copy of it from the host. The host can send a copy of it to you afterwards once they've saved it on their device. So that's another way you can go about it. Because once you save it, those links can be shared online. And the division and district have done that. Division G has had Zoom web presentations, webinars. The districts the 33 has had webinars that have been presented by their end. I've heard about major security issues with Zoom. What security does this session have? Clarice.
Okay, the security that we have, well, actually, this account that we're using tonight is my account.
Okay.
This is not the district's account.
Oh, okay.
What Zoom has done is that the reason why you were sent a different link is because this is a Zoom policy or security measure. It requires a password. So the security means that you don't get the likelihood of us getting crashed or bombed by someone who was not supposed to be on here isn't more enforced because it required a password or you needed that link.
Oh, and Catherine has a very good question. Please address how a host can shut down a Zoom bomber. Easily, the host has the ability to kick somebody out of a meeting and not let them back in for the rest of that meeting.
Yes, and I have that ability on my end. So once I remove someone who's not supposed to be here, I can remove that person on my end and not allow them.
Why is Jim on his head? Probably has to do with the way his camera is projecting.
I have a question for Clarissa.
Yes.
How do you block someone if someone tries to enter your meeting without permission?
There's a setting in here that once I remove them, there's another setting that allows me to permanently not allow them back.
Yes.
Actually, I already set that up in my settings. So once a participant is removed, I do not allow that person to go in. If I want it, I can change that, but I have to go back into the settings. Mm-hmm. And the settings is not here. I have to access it from my Zoom account online on zoom.com and logging into my own. I can't do it from the controls while we're in the meeting.
Can I step in here, Greg?
Yes, of course.
Okay, there is a setting if you go into Zoom, and if you're the host, you can go into your settings and you can set up the meeting beforehand where everybody goes into a waiting room. And then when they're in the waiting room, they are only allowed in by the host. Now, if you have a 20 or a 15 or a 20 or a 25 member club that's going to come into your meeting, it's not really that difficult for you to set that up. They go into a meeting room and then you can then let them into the meeting. And so that would be a way to kind of upfront make sure that somebody is not just coming in and bombing the meeting. Because if they tried to come in after the meeting started, they still go into a waiting room.
Exactly. There's a lot of safety features that Zoom has for the host that will enable you to control who goes in and when, and to easily kick out haters, so to speak.
For this meeting, just so you know, I turned off the waiting room. the waiting room option because we had the password.
Yeah, but the host can at any time can activate the waiting room during the meeting. So when you have a contest and people are speaking, then whoever comes in goes to the waiting room. What I read for it.
Yes, and just so you know, that everyone has put their names on the participant list. And in what I do in a club meeting, for example, if there is a person who is signed in as a guest, and I don't want to put this person on the spot, but we do have a guest who logged on who is listed on the participant as a guest. So I just sent a private message to welcome that person to the meeting and have asked the person to basically ask for their name and their club name and area that they're representing. So that is one way that you can on your end to make sure that if you don't recognize someone, send them a private message so you make sure that you have someone who should be on. So that's why it's important that people list their names.
We also, at our Toastmaster meetings for TLC and Central Valley, because I've posted the links to the online club's Facebook page. And we ask people to introduce themselves, so they have to, and we ask them, what club are you from? So if they identify their club, then we know that it's legitimate, that they are a Toastmaster, that are interested in just exploring and seeing another club online.
Yeah. What I noticed also, often when you rename yourself, the next time you log in, you have that name from the last time. So if you don't notice it, so you might be a guest for one meeting, but the next time you go in your own meeting, you're still listed as guest.
You just have to be cognizant of that.
Yeah, every time you have to make sure that you change it to the correct setting.
Nope. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Francina. Any questions so far about these basic features?
I just saw something really cool in the settings. You can change your hand too. I just made mine look more realistic. I like that.
Yeah. There's little things that people are exploring that you can do, and that's what you need to do. With with a lot of things in life, the best way to learn is to just dive in and start exploring. You'll notice there's a couple of other buttons. If you look at the very top right, you can do speaker view. If it's speaker view, you will be the full screen is of the speaker and everybody else is moved to the right. You could do gallery view, and then it shows the speaker amongst the gallery. You can also exit full screen so that it is smaller. And you'll notice, speaking of recording, that Clarice there's a little button on a little flashing red light with the word recording. That tells us that Clarice is presently recording this Zoom session. And you'll also see that if you click on the ID, the little I, it says the Clarice Kresser's personal meeting room. And it shows the information for the host, the password, invitation URL, participant ID.
Greg.
Yes.
Can you show us what the screen looks like when you're sharing it, but you're sharing it half and half? I noticed that you can do that too, where you can have half your screen, so you're sharing it, but then you still see the participants on the other half. I'd like to see what that looks like.
Okay, the way you would do that is you would do the share screen, and I'm going to share, I'll share this, and then you would just, if you you can actually expand the video. You can actually expand the grid video. So it says show grid video. If you click on show grid video, you can expand it like you would expand a picture that you're pasting onto a document or a field for Excel. If you use Excel spreadsheets, you can actually put your cursor till it turns into an arrow and stretch it so that half of your screen can be participants and the other half can be what I'm sharing. So right now I have about half of my screen on the right covered by you all, and I have the other one. As you can see, I am doodling on this.
Yeah, but Greg on the top says you are viewing Greg's Mario's screen, and the next is a view option, is an arrow down button, and then you can put a zoom ratio. There's all kinds of things.
Yes.
All kinds of with the drop down menu, all kinds of options.
Oh, and Anne had a question. Yes, Anne.
Alan has a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Greg, when I'm using PowerPoint and I have one of those PowerPoint, remote advancers hooked up to my computer because I want to be standing when I'm giving the presentation, will what people see whatever screen I've advanced to?
They will see just the screen. They won't see you.
Okay.
Let me give you an example of this. I actually, as I mentioned earlier, did a PowerPoint for a Google slide for Central Valley Toastmasters. So if I go on my Google account and I pull up my Google Slides, I can show you what it will look like from your perspective as the viewer. So let me sign into my Google account, and then I will show you my Google Slides, and it will provide a better visual for you. I don't believe in just saying it. I really believe in giving examples. So bear with me for a few moments while I log into my Google account, and then I will show it to you. I have multiple accounts in my family, so I have to select the correct one and log in.
But if you share your screen and you show half and half, then you can show your PowerPoint, can't you? As well as yourself.
Yes, you can.
That's what I wanted to ask. How do you share your PowerPoints?
Now, the way you show your PowerPoints or Google Slides, whatever you use, it's the same way, is you would bring it up on your screen, and you would bring it up before the meeting.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So here's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see what I'm doing. I have my screen. I'm going to go to here. You're going to see my Google. Does everyone see my Google Slides?
No.
It should say Slides on the top left. I'm going to go down to here. This is a presentation I did today. So I'm going to open this up. And this one I entitled How to Navigate Distance Learning. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
And you would operate this like you would normally operate a PowerPoint off of your computer. How many of you have ever operated a PowerPoint from your computer using a remote control?
Yes.
Yes, you hook it up via an HDMI cable or a Wi-Fi connection. It's the same way. With Google, for example, Google Slides, it also works for PowerPoint because I've done both. You want to go to View.
Hey, Evan.
White show.
I'm going to click on View. I'm going to click on the Present mode. So you're going to see the full screen version of it. I don't have a remote control in this case, but you should see loading. Do you see me?
Yes.
Okay, so you can still see me, but I'm also having the PowerPoint right here. I click on this, and I show you, and the slides go. It works just like you would when you give a PowerPoint at the club. The great thing about doing it virtually is you can sit down to present. If you sit down to present, you just need to make sure that half of your body is visible, basically the top half. You don't want to do this because then you would be like Max Headroom. So a little bit back. I have a wireless mouse. I love my wireless mouse. It's not mandatory, but a wireless mouse is a great piece of equipment. I also have a pair of headphones. Make it either wireless or with a cord that's long enough. And then I give my presentation. I click here. I'm still talking to you, presenting, and I don't have to stand up. So if you don't stand up, you can remain seated in a virtual presentation at a club meeting. You just have to make sure that a good portion of your torso is visible so people can see your hand gestures.
Yeah, that's part of the presentation is, although part of the main portion of the project is how you use visual aids, you're still evaluate on how you do, all the other things. So I was wondering, do I do the standing up or do I do it sitting down, and sitting back like you?
It depends on your setup. If you're able to get it to where you can do it standing up and you can have it wireless, then that's awesome. I personally have not developed it to that level yet because online Toastmasters meetings are relatively new for me. So I use the same skill set that I use when I do my online teaching for VIP Kid, and I sit back a little bit so you can see my head, you can see my hand gestures, which leads me to a real pro tip when it comes to presenting. Do not look at the participants on the screen. That is not how they will think of you giving eye contact. In order for them to see that you are giving them eye contact, you need to look at the camera.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you're looking at the camera, you're making a presentation, you're clicking. And then when you want to stop sharing, you can click stop share, and it goes back to this.
Greg, I did several lessons from Zoom, but there is a way that you can do your picture in the top left, top right corner.
Oh, cool.
But I forgot how to do it. But if you go to Zoom, they have all kinds of things how to do presentations, they have all kinds of short videos on how to do a certain task.
And I've been looking at some of those actually as well, trying to always learn more.
Yeah, but there is one that says it is on the top right corner. You get your own picture small, and then you have can have the full screen. You don't have to do it side by side.
Awesome.
Greg, can I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Francis.
How did you write on your computer screen when
Oh,
you did that?
That's whiteboard.
And
so when you go to share screen, you're going to get an option of the whiteboard.
When I go on to what?
Share screen.
Oh, okay.
And then I can undo the things I've done. It's very similar to the features that you would find on a Microsoft document where you want to draw. You could take the format, you could take the color, I can change the width, make it really wide like this. I can clear it, clear all my drawings, I can save it. This is really good if you're trying to show a lesson. Anybody actually, when they're sharing, can share the whiteboard, but only one person can share it at a time in a given Zoom meeting.
And how do I find the whiteboard?
And Clarice also made a note that to do the whiteboard, the host has to allow participants to mark on the whiteboard. She turned it on so we could doodle on it. Thank you, Clarice.
Oh, okay. So if I'm the host, I have to turn the whiteboard on.
Yes, you do, in order to allow people to draw on it.
Okay.
For example, when I start meeting with my students in 2 weeks, I will allow my students to write on there so that they can also use the whiteboard to show their learning. I'm going to teach them how to do it. Let me show you again. It says Rosa started sharing her screen. So Rosa's sharing her screen. Now, TLC Toastmasters does a really good job of meeting online, and they've been doing this was their third online meeting last Wednesday. So Rosa's showing what you can do with it. Yes, it is. Once you get on the share feature, turning that whiteboard on is the same thing as sharing it. You can also, if you have your phone connected to your computer, you can share from your iPhone to, I think it's by Bluetooth. You could share it to the computer. but I've never tried that feature admittedly.
Can I go back to what Alan said
Yes.
about standing up, sitting down? I
Yes.
think that's how you feel personally as a speaker. Because me, I've spoken on this, and I personally feel better standing up because I feel like if I sit down, my energy level is going to be down. So I feel personally that if I'm standing, my energy is up, and I can be more animated. So I think sitting, standing depends on how you feel.
And Joseph said that, reiterated that is a personal choice.
Yeah.
You know, now those are all choices we have to make according to where we are. But let's get some of these real questions out of there because we're running out of time.
Yeah, it says here the host, Kathy said is turning. Okay, Kathy already said that. Kathy said the host only presumably can Bluetooth share the phone. That, I believe that would be correct. Unless now the host can make you a co-host during the meeting. For example, if Clarice wanted to make somebody a co-host, she could go into her feed settings and designate someone as a co-host. Also, in that same meeting that Mr. Joseph Skoda mentioned, his internet went shoddy. He was the host, dropped out, and it actually assigned somebody else as the host. So you can assign a co-host as a host, and that co-host would have the same rights to tie in from their phone to the computer via Bluetooth. Which I don't know if that's something you would necessarily use. You would more likely use the share screen feature for a PowerPoint or Google Slides. Okay, also, if you want your whole body to show, you need to set up your computer at a further distance away, so you'll need a Bluetooth microphone. That is correct. You'll need a wireless Bluetooth microphone. The only reason I'm using this is because I am approximately 2.5 to 3 feet away from my computer screen. And yes, the co-host is only available on paid Zoom accounts, Kay, that is correct. Free accounts do not have the co-host feature. And the host, in fact, if clubs did want to get their own account because 2 per division wasn't enough, it's $14.99 a month, and that would be a decision that the club would have to make. But the district is providing 2 free Zoom 2 accounts per division. Any other?
Greg, I want to say when you're standing, not only you have with your sound, but also you have to do the height of your camera, that you're not under an angle. So maybe you have to lift it on a box or put it higher when you're standing to adjust
Like, for example, if I was to stand up, I would have to do this. I would have to prop it up on a higher table, some sort of podium, easel, to make it even. You don't want to angle it in a diagonal because then people will see your nose hairs, for example.
Yeah.
You want it to be that same or similar line of sight of almost horizontal that you have when you're speaking to somebody.
Yeah, and also you have with your lighting that you don't have all the light from the back, that you what they call in the witness protection program. If you have the light from the back, we cannot see the faces.
Exactly. In fact, I have a ceiling light to my upper left. I have a lamp that is immediately to my left right here. I'm moving it. You can see how that changes everything. And I have a lamp to the right corner of my desk. This is something you just have to play with. Before you give a speech at a meeting, you have to look at your lighting and turn your camera on. Turn your camera on, look at yourself, look at how you are looked, how you can see yourself in there, and adjust yourself so you can minimize any kind of shadows or glares that would distract somebody.
Yes, everyone, we're looking at the time, and I'm sorry to say that we are at 7 o'clock. And unfortunately, the trio has to be on another call or another Zoom meeting for Region 2. But I wanted to pose this because of all the wonderful questions. Would it be beneficial to have a second or a part 2 of this?
Sure.
If so, raise
Yeah.
your hand on the screen or just visibly show that. Would that be helpful to you? Joseph,
I'll be glad to do
Greg,
it.
would you
I'll be glad
available?
to do it. Yes. I'll be glad to do it.
That's great. We'll try to do a part 2 in the very, very near future. But make sure you have all your questions in advance.
Yeah, it would be fun to, but some people used to play with it, that some people have the control and play with the breakout rooms and the waiting room and play with the participant do the individual features.
I also put my email in a chat box. If you would like to email me, you can email me, contact me with any questions. I am off this week for spring break, so this is a good time to catch me.
Okay, our next office hours is actually Monday from no, it's actually Sunday. I'm going to get this mixed up. It's from 6 to 7.
Easter Sunday?
Oh no, Monday.
Monday.
Monday from 7 to 8.
I'll
And
be
then,
on there.
how many of you can make that on Monday? I know that there are club meetings.
That's our meeting night.
Okay, so I think we get the most attendance. We have been getting the most attendance on Sunday. So then the next one would be a week from Easter Sunday, which would be the 18th, right?
19th.
No,
19th. Yes.
19th, that's fine.
Okay, so stay tuned for the next one. And thank you. Joseph, you want to close?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you all for joining us. We've had our biggest attendance yet, 88 people. So thank you. We're going to continue this on. Let's just practice and bring your questions next time. We got to go. We have another meeting we're missing. So
see you guys.
God bless all of you. Bye-bye now.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you, Greg.
You're
And the
welcome. Thank
recording's
you.
out there.
My pleasure.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.